Hello, thank you for joining our webinar today. This is my first Moontoast webinar since taking over as Chief Product Officer for the company. I'm so thrilled to be working with such an innovative company. I'm broadcasting you live today from beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. So if you want to ask questions as we go along, I'm going to give you a hashtag here in a second. But I'm really excited to talk about this topic. It's been something that we've been studying quite a long time here at Moontoast, and we're thrilled to be talking about it today. Our topic for today's webinar is conquering sales with the new wave of mobile advocates. We're going to define that for you in a second. First, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, the host for today's webinar. My name is Jason Weaver. That's my picture right there. I'm Chief Product Officer. I also run marketing here at Moontoast now. If you want to reach me, you can do so directly. My email is simple, Jason, J-A-S-O-N, @moontoast.com. And hey, you can follow me on Twitter as well at jasonweaver.com. If you also want to check out my book, A Manager's Guide to Online Marketing, you can just search for that on Amazon.com. And a lot of the case studies that we'll be talking about today are also reflected in that book, so I'd encourage you to check it out. If you have questions as we go along, feel free to ask those either by submitting these questions in the GoToWebinar window. I'll collect those questions at the end and answer as many as I can. The questions I don't have time to reach today, I promise you will email you within a day or two and follow up. You can also tweet to the hashtag #MobileAdvocates. We'll be checking the Twitter feed as we go here and answering any questions that we can. Or you can tell me things like speed up, slow down, drill into more topics, and I'll try to pay attention to that as we go along. So again, I'm Jason Weaver, and thank you for joining us today. Let's go ahead and begin. First, I realize there's many of you new faces on the phone here today that may have not heard of Moontoast and what we do. Moontoast has 3 locations, one in beautiful Boston, Massachusetts, one in downtown Nashville, Tennessee, and our 3rd location is in San Francisco. We are an activation marketing platform, so it's something that's a little bit unique to the market. We create, distribute, and track social-rich media campaigns through ad networks as well as directly on different social tools. Our focus is primarily mobile. Since everything has shifted to mobile nowadays, we run a lot of campaigns for some unique brands that you might recognize, such as these: Procter & Gamble, TVS, Lionsgate, Dell, Vivo, Microsoft, Toyota, Nissan, just to name a few. So our experience of running these social-rich media campaigns across multiple devices, I think, qualifies us to talk about some of the things that we're going to go through today on the Mobile Advocates webinar. If you missed this presentation, don't worry, we're going to email out a copy of this to you after the webinar. Or you can also collect other great content from Moontoast from one of our social destinations here, our Facebook page. I encourage you to check out our Twitter account, and of course, Pinterest, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Google+. So let's talk about mobile advocates. First, more importantly, brand advocates. Now, one of the jobs that I used to have, we would build out a lot of followers and fans on different social networks. And I was always challenged by the company that I worked with and the different prospects and different clients that I had to turn those fans into advocates. The difference between an advocate and a fan is an advocate will actually go out there and most of the time for free promote your products and services. Right? They're so thrilled to be involved with you as a company, either on the product or service side, that they're willing to go out and talk to their friends about you. Right? And I think every company is seeking those types of folks, so how do you find them? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that in today's webinar. A customer that goes out of their way to evangelize a brand to his and her peers and colleagues without coupons, payments, or perks. Now, I know that many of you on the phone here today are probably thinking, yeah, that's quite hard to do. How do you not discount your products and services to get fans and followers over to your company's website or e-commerce site? But if you think about it, there's probably a handful of passion brands that you'd love today that I don't even have to push you to with a coupon or some kind of substantial offer to be rewarded to talk about. My passion brand is obviously Apple Computer, one of the companies that I probably own one of each product of their products. And believe me, they're not paying me or discounting any products for me to go out and talk about how fabulous they are. So if you really think about it, there are ways to leverage these fans and followers into this new era, what we call advocacy. Let's talk a little bit more about advocacy. Americans, specifically, speak positively about brands during word-of-mouth conversations 66% of the time. Most of the time, they're talking positive, right? Some of the brands that I've communicated with are reluctant to do reviews openly on their website. We're going to talk about that in a case study pretty soon on how to help one company really open up communication and see substantial change in their sales behavior because they're willing to do that. More importantly, if you look at the statistic on the right-hand side, 50% of all purchasing decisions, 50% of all purchasing decisions are a result of a personal recommendation. I don't have to preach to you that you probably go to Amazon.com or different websites and read ratings and reviews before you make a purchase today, right? Or you'll probably ask somebody about the next computer, or should I get the iPhone 6 before you make that purchase. 50% of you do that. So the trick is, how can we turn these fans and followers into brand advocates? Brand advocates also spend 2 times more than the average customer. So, as I mentioned earlier, I probably own one of every Apple device, right? I'm the Apple fanboy, right? I spend 2 times more than the average customer because I'm a brand advocate of Apple computer. Brand advocates also recommend or share 2 times more than the average customer, right? So you can kind of see the opportunities that we have here. If we can turn those fans and followers into true brand advocates, the results will be limitless. I want to talk about a quick case study. I mentioned ratings and reviews here. Cars.com, a company we all know pretty well, encourage ratings and reviews and sharing versus not doing it, not ratings, reviews, and sharing, and showed that the pages that had ratings and reviews received a 16% higher rate of conversion and a 100% higher rate of traffic to the dealer's website. A lot of the retail brands and different product companies that I've worked with over my career have been fearful of doing open communication, ratings, and reviews on their website. Right? Those who embrace that can adapt to the market and either change their products if they're getting negative reviews and perfect them and make them better, because they're going to be talking about you offline anyway, or they open up the communication. And remember what I said in the previous slide, 60% of brand advocates, 60% of Americans rather, talk positively about brands. So you have more than a 60% chance of getting positive reviews over negative just by opening that line of communication up. More importantly, brand advocates are 90% more likely to write a positive review. User-generated content receives 10 times more engagement than paid content and 7 times more engagement than content posted to a brand page. So I'm going to give you a case study here in a second that I think is remarkable to compare all of your paid media efforts in comparison to the loyalty-based, advocate-based campaign, right? The ROI that we've seen for some of these case studies is astounding once we can tap into the hearts of our most genuine customers and turn them into advocates. So where are your brand advocates? Let's think about that. I know the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is check my mobile phone. And the last thing I do when I go to sleep at night is look at my mobile phone. So make no mistake about it, most of them are walking around with mobile phones. In fact, mobile now accounts for 57% of all internet usage, right? I'm sure you know of people that have a mobile phone but don't have a laptop. More importantly, I know you're walking around the shopping malls with a mobile phone out in front of you, not your laptop, right? There is no greater direct form of communication between a brand and its end users than that of mobile devices. And Facebook has this figured out, Twitter has this figured out, all of them are rushing to get more of that screen share. In fact, 60% of U.S. internet users are almost always connected. This means all the time. Right? And 43% never unplug from their device. Like, I'm embarrassed to admit that I'm one of those folks, right? That if I'm not talking to somebody, I'm on my mobile phone, right? Checking my Facebook, checking stocks, checking weather, checking news, right? Always connected. So that is where we're going to find our brand advocates. 85% of internet time spent on mobile phones is in apps, with social apps leading the way. These are Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, you know these. Social giants like Facebook and Twitter have recognized the potential and now are mobile first. So I was one of the early investors in Facebook, and I remember when they used to get slammed for not having that mobile presence. Boy, they did a 180 on that and turned it around to where that is now their most powerful form of advertising. In fact, Twitter has 70% of their revenue coming from mobile advertising. 75%. 53% of Facebook's ad revenue comes from mobile advertising, 75% of Twitter comes from mobile advertising, and 92% on Pinterest, right? So you can't argue facts when it comes to how we're going to reach these advocates. That's why this webinar is named Mobile Advocates, right? We're going to reach them directly connected, better than email, and better than being on a social site with a one-to-one connection. Let's talk about creating brand advocates. Okay, so this is a market, like I said, I've been studying for a long time, and I've gotten down to a formula, I believe, that I want to explain here for a second. There's a difference between loyalty, the punch card audience, right? The ones that are looking for the discounts and promotions and those kind of things. Every brand has loyalty, almost, right? You have your Starbucks cards, your grocery store coupon cards, etc. And their objective is to retain you as a customer. Right? That's why those arrows are pointed in. They want to keep you as a customer, and not even so you don't even think about going elsewhere. Advocate's a little bit different. So although there's elements of loyalty in those advocate programs that we're going to talk about in a second, advocate is more about like, hey, will you go talk to your friends about us? Right? Maybe there's incentives, maybe not. But we provide this catalyst of communication from your phone to talk to your friends, to encourage them to share our products and services. So advocate is a new way to reach fans and followers and gain additional customers through a series of tools that I'm going to talk about in a second. 83% of brand advocates are more likely to share information than the average user. That is a substantial number. 83% more likely to share information than the average internet user, right? So they're shopping online, they're shopping on their phones, they're forwarding things, they're posting to Pinterest, they're sharing this on their Facebook page, they're talking to their friends, they're tweeting, they're emailing, etc. 83%, right? Each time an advocate posts content on a social network, check out this number, it reaches 150 people. So if I can reach just a handful of my most passionate customers, the Apple fanboys like myself, and give them a reason to connect to their friends, doesn't have to be discounts, we'll talk about that in a second. On average, I'm going to talk to 150 more people about their products in a positive way than just by traditional advertising and other methods, right? So let me talk to you about this case study real quick. This is a great one. So J. Halburn, a retail brand which is receiving many referrals from existing satisfied customers by offering customers $50 for each friend referred and encouraging the advocates to share the offer using social media. Brand advocates were identified and rewarded. Any referred customer who spent over $100 received a $50 discount on their purchase. Here's the result. After 45 days of running the new campaign, 1,000 customers had made a referral, averaging in 12 shares per advocate. The referral program produced 10,000 shares via Facebook, Twitter, and email. The bottom line result, 600 transactions, which netted $250,000 in sales. They tapped into their most valuable asset, their fans. They turned those fans into advocates, which went out and promoted their product, resulted in $250,000 in sales. Let's explore further. Brand advocacy programs are designed to empower the superfans to speak on your brand's behalf as ambassadors, right? They're the folks that are going out there and talking most about getting new customers to you, not the traditional loyalty route. Brand advocacy programs enable customers to hold your brand image in their own hands. You have to empower them to turn a one-way communication channel into multiple promotional communication methods, right? So by doing this, we're creating incentives, maybe it's rewards and points or different levels, different statuses. There's many different ways to reward advocates other than just money, right? Like imagine today, we're all probably waiting for the September 9th announcement of Apple with their iPhone 6, maybe their iWatch, who knows what's coming out. Imagine if they knew that I was the biggest Apple fanboy in the world, and they sent me one of those in advance to try out before everybody else. Would I be ecstatic? Of course, right? I would probably go out there and talk to all of these folks the day that they let me talk about the product and release it into the wild, converting all of the non-believers into Apple fans as well, right? Probably 150 times on average, like we talked about earlier. There's three fundamental truths when it comes to advocacy. One, people are more likely to buy from friends, no question. Two, trust and credibility are higher among friends. You trust what your friends say, of course you do. Three, advocates are more likely to share and spend more than anybody else. I own one of every Apple product just about. Right. So let's talk a little bit more about this. Creating a connection with your mobile advocates. Let's talk about how we're going to do that. One is I want to talk about mobile-rich media. There's a couple things here that Moontoast does very, very, very well. One is we are absolute masters at social-rich media campaigns. When I first signed on, I did a lot of studies here internally, putting traditional ads, the Facebook, Twitter, standard ads, studying that against a social-rich media campaign, which is interactive and engaging and draws your attention. Additionally, social-rich media campaigns encourage sharing, right? They encourage passing along of different products and services. And they're designed so that you can track them down to the end-user level and understand exactly, precisely, where your content is being shared, how it's most effectively being used, and who your brand advocates are, right? Let me give you a couple examples of that. Different ways that I've seen social-rich media campaigns feature on sweepstakes is a no-brainer, coupons is a no-brainer, you guys know this. So we can discount products and services we get passed along, no problem. But there's other interactive things we can do too to encourage that engagement with our brands. We have countdowns to product releases. We have different galleries that might be exhibiting new products that are ready to go to market. I've seen all of these work very effectively for some of our clients like Nissan, Toyota, etc. So I'd encourage you to check those out. Here's a couple examples of the journey of a customer using mobile-rich media. So the countdown timer I talked about on the left. Imagine seeing this over a native Facebook ad. Which are you going to be drawn to, right? Look at data capture here for lead generation, right? Voting, collecting data. Every time that an end user touches a campaign with our social-rich platform, we acquire more data on that user. And information is power. The more data we have, the more we can determine who our advocates are, and the higher probability we have of promoting products and services successfully based on that data. So we can go through the entire life cycle here, multiple different touch points, and keep those users engaged for an extended period of time. There's a couple different techniques for driving effective customer engagement. A lot of them are expensive when it comes to advertising, right? Many times, one of the things that has frustrated a lot of my clients is we spend all of our efforts driving traffic to Facebook pages and Twitter accounts that we have set up for free. And we've pushed our traffic away from our websites and e-commerce sites to these different social networks. And then if we want to target back to those websites, we have to spend money to do so. So it becomes very expensive to measure that and attack that audience again. It becomes time consuming, right? You have to have a full-time media planner to really reach somebody at a really targeted level, right? If you want to reach men in Milwaukee that drink beer that are over 21 years old, you can do that in a very effective way by targeting your ad campaigns. But you can also do that with mobile once you've covered that, captured that audience and developed your own application to keep them involved. And that's a much more measurable cost-effective way to keep engagement going. Rich media on mobile encourages brand advocates to promote your brand with their friends on the go, right? We can't ignore messages that are coming up to us on our mobile phone, not in a disruptive way. Now keep in mind, if you're a brand advocate, we're driving content to you that is non-disruptive to your user experience no matter where you are, right? If you're a fan of BMW, you're going to like getting content from BMW. If you're an Apple fan like I am, you're going to enjoy getting content from that. All we're doing is fanning the flames a little bit with the advocacy programs to allow that end-to-end communication to be successful. There are some steps to building a current and potential advocate relationship, right? A lot of times, companies don't do this first one very well. Okay. So we have what we call a marketing activation plan that we sell here at Moontoast, right? So when we get engaged with a brand, we like to go out and do some surveys and evaluate the landscape before we recommend different campaign strategies for you, right? I'd say to our clients, there's no better way to reach your audience and find out what kind of content they want to receive than to ask them, right? So we put together these packages that include surveys and different results, competitive analysis, etc. And we will come out with a clearly defined path of how to best, most effectively reach your audience, how to most effectively engage them, and what success should look like before you even begin that relationship with them. 2 is engage. A lot of times in social media and mobile media, we don't provide enough value for end users to want to pass along content, right? Coupon's not enough. Discounting's not enough. Email, let's not get started on spam. So we have to provide content in a two-way communication street, right? I submit recipes for you if I'm a food company. Now I'll ask you to submit some for your own self that we can go out and share as well. Listen and engage are the first 2 steps in building that advocate relationship. 3 is be helpful. So we talked about ratings and reviews as being one of the parts of the pieces when it comes to advocacy. A lot of times people see those negative reviews from different clients that I've worked with and not act upon that, right? I have turned personally the most ticked off customers into our biggest advocates just by responding quickly and addressing their issues. So be helpful. Show appreciation, right? I would love for Apple, if anybody from Apple's on the phone here, just send me the iPhone 6 before everybody else. I promise not to leak it. But show appreciation. Get your end users involved, your customers involved, and let them know how special they are to you and your brand as you go out there. Build mobile community. One of the things we have up our sleeve here at Moontoast is we have white label native applications on iPhone, iPad, and Android that we repackaged today for any of you brands listening that can create an instant advocate network for you in minutes, right? Everybody's on mobile phone. Encourage that, right? Just don't push to Facebook and then to the mobile audience. Create that direct communication to where you can own your own audience, okay? Offer recognition, identify and reward and recognize and evangelize your best customers, right? Make it public that you're very excited about your best advocate, right? I worked with a fantastic makeup brand one time that did a great job of this. Every time they got to the end of the year, they sent gift baskets to their best fans and followers for free. And don't be controlling. Don't be too focused on the end result that you forget that social media is that give and take relationship, right? Make it engaging, rewarding, and make sure it's a two-way street. Hopefully this is helpful. A few more slides. I want to talk about our company a little bit, some of the analysis I've been doing here internally, and then we'll open it up for questions because we're a little bit ahead of schedule, thankfully. I've noticed that we're doing a lot of campaigns with our clients when I first started. Doing a lot of advertising campaigns, pushing into different social networks, pushing through different ad networks, etc. And where I got really attracted to the advocate piece of this was how can we extend campaigns past the duration of a media buy, right? So it almost was like clockwork. We get substantial results from pushing media spend and going out and running our social reach campaigns across all different mobile sites and different networks, etc. But as soon as we started inserting an element of advocacy and offering rewards or incentives or that reason to stay connected beyond that initial campaign, you can see the results here. Where campaigns died cold after 42 days, we can extend those for 120 to a year if we can keep them engaged as an advocate, right? So I'd encourage you to think about that as you're building out your own plan. Okay. So we're getting closer to questions. I see some coming in, and I'm going to answer those in a second. I want to talk a little bit about our products, since many of you are new on the phone here as I glance through the list as we got started here. Moontoast is a mobile activation platform, so we have a lot of different tools that you can look at, and I would encourage you today to go to our website, moontoast.com, and click request a demo, and myself or one of my colleagues would be happy to show you our platform. It's quite savvy, easy to use. How about that? One of the things that we do is if you have an existing loyalty program or existing commerce site, you want to just tie into that, we have a fantastic SDK for those apps, as well as APIs that can tie into your existing platforms. What we do is we add a little bit of advocacy on top of the effort that you're already doing, and it will generally fan the flames to encourage your mobile advocates to go out there and share to different customers and track that in real time. The tracking is done on our web-based tool. So you can see here that campaigns are coming into real time. This is all branded your company brand. So if you work at Nike or Apple or whatever, imagine this be branded your company brand or your agency person. We can do that as well. And there is a real-time stream of all your advocate activities that come in, and you can rate, review these, and create social profiles down around all of your advocates. And we have an iPad app to match that as well. You can also quickly create your own, as I mentioned, white label products with different apps we have. We have a fleet of developers here that just enjoy doing this very well, are top of their game when it comes to mobile activation. And I would encourage you to ask for a demo for this. It's just fantastic. And we can also allow you to create campaigns yourself if you like to with our wizard design. You can go through and create any of those social rich campaigns that I showed you earlier just by clicking through a few steps and outputting code. Very easy to use. So implementing your brand advocacy strategy, one is find your advocates. The way we do this is through research, a little bit of research, some surveys, listening, gathering data, running initial campaigns, sometimes advertising, and pushing those into the social profile. You invite your advocates to review you on mobile and social channels, right? Ask for that feedback, get that two-way communication going. You gather your customer testimonials and stories, or do some UGC campaigns, user-generated content campaigns, and keep that dialogue going. You're going to make your advocates feel special with certain shout-outs of recognition, birthday celebrations, achieving certain goals, right? I can't remember, one day I was using my Starbucks card on my mobile phone and just thrilled when I hit the gold level. I didn't even know that I had that level. So makes you feel special when you have that kind of recognition, right? Track your progress as you go. Becoming a great advocacy marketing person is by understanding your data, right? And refining that data until you just hit it out of the park when it comes to having campaigns. And monitor and manage your campaigns using tools like Moontoast. So this is one of the social rich media campaigns that we were involved with. I just want to talk about real quickly. I'm very excited about this one. This is Haagen-Dazs, obviously ice cream company, and they were asking folks to vote on their favorite recipe, your favorite treat. Viewers tap the call to action button labeled "Click to Vote" and open the ad and browse unique recipes that Haagen-Dazs used for their product. When fans found their favorite recipe, they simply tapped the voting page that led them to the thank you page. The cool thing about this is it reached 1.2 million users, 1.1 unique impressions, and it was aimed specifically at the Haagen-Dazs fans as well as other targeted audience. Nearly 90% of the taps, right, came from mobile devices. Over 9,000 people liked on it and commented on this ad as we put it out there. So this is just one great example of mobile advocacy campaign. So I'm going to do a quick review of mobile advocacy, and then I'm going to actually look over here and see I got a bunch of questions and answer these. Thank you so much for taking time on this busy day for your webinar. Just stick close here. I'm going to answer some questions, and we're going to give away a Google Chromecast here in a little while. So hang on one second. One is, what are some of the successful advocate programs you've seen? I think I mentioned a few in here earlier. I was really impressed with the Cars.com stuff, as well as the retail brand we mentioned earlier. We have a lot of different examples here too. I have some makeup company case studies that I could talk to you about, as well as from retail if you're into fashion and retail, that it's worked well. Advocacy does work for B2B, nonprofit, for-profit, as well as retail. Retail is just really easy to talk about the examples here because you know these brands, but they have experience with all kinds of different companies, and I encourage you to reach out to us and get some of those case studies. Can different elements of mobile rich media, like video galleries and countdowns, be combined? I think they can be combined because we've modularized a lot of our different units, so we can combine those things. Just specifically on what you're looking for. If you want to reach out to me directly, I can give you the answer to that. Do some incentives work better than others? That's interesting. So, for example, do coupons work better than sweepstakes? It really depends on the brand. You know, if it's a commodity-based brand, with all the respect to maybe on the phone, like batteries or toilet paper, one of the CPG companies, couponing works, right? If it was a premium brand, BMW, maybe Apple, you know, True Religion, those kind of things, then it's more about recognition, right? So I've seen companies not go the discounting route and put in incentives and rewards, which can be backstage at a concert, right? Or get our next product line early, or custom design your own computer, et cetera, et cetera. There are many different ways to incentivize advocates beyond just monetary, so just keep that in mind as you're putting together your program. How much insight into user behavior does the Muntaz platform offer? Well, we collect everything. So every time that somebody touches one of our campaigns, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, what have you, we're collecting that data. More importantly, our containers, our social rich media containers, also collect a lot of data, meaning that we can get beyond just what we get from the different social networks and then ask them, right? Ask your audience to participate. So one of our most successful units, for example, that we have is a form, right? And the questions that we put around that form, we can supplement data for mobile gatherings in the different social networks to round out the social profile. Anyways, I'm probably going too geeky on the product, but I can show you that later and how we can get down to exactly demographic, geographic information and target people on a one-to-one basis. All right, so now they just told me to fast forward here a little bit. So if you have additional questions that you want to ask, maybe you don't want to ask those on the GoToMeeting webinar here, you can use the hashtag mobile advocate. Also, please hashtag, I know there's a lot of you still on the phone here, you've been wonderful sticking with me through the whole thing. Hashtag something to that. Ask a question using mobile advocates, and we're going to randomly select somebody to win a Google Chromecast if you want to try that out right now. I'm going to answer one more question. How much targeting can you do via rich media? The cool thing about rich media is we can serve that. That's a great question. We can serve that on any mobile ad network or any social ad network. More importantly, by using our platform with rich media, you're able to put your own tracking tags in there, right? So if you go to native advertising, meaning Facebook or Twitter directly, you have to basically take their word for it. Not that they're bad, but take their word for it when it comes to tracking those results. If you plan on doing advertising across multiple devices and different social networks, imagine putting your campaign tracking tag into our social rich media units one time and you seeing in your own real-time stream there on that iPad app, for example, how effective those campaigns are. So it really gives you a lot more power. So I'd encourage you to check that out. All right, I'm getting a few more questions in here, but I'm going to wrap up and let you get back to your day here. So, I would love to connect with you folks, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day. We will package this up, and we will try to get this out to you very shortly. If you want to attend future webinars of ours, please just sign up for those at moontoast.com or look for the emails as you go along. You can also reach us at hello@moontoast.com. My direct email is Jason, Jason, @moontoast.com. And you can register for future webinars there. So I'm Jason Weaver. I hope you've enjoyed yourself today, and I will see you next time on the next Moon Toast webinar. Thank you for attending.